Welcome to the Agency Site User Guide step-by-step tutorial series for Sonia. Today we're going to cover steps 2 and 3, which is creating preceptor and agency profiles. So let's get started. We're going to cover building your personal profile, which might be changing languages or uploading your profile photo, or maybe changing your contact details. And then we're going to talk a little bit about building your agency or your site profile, which is a little bit more detail about the agency, certain associated users that also take on students within your agency, even managing appointments, maybe uploading some introduction text for students so they understand what your agency is all about, keeping internal notes, and much, much more. So let's show you what that actually looks like. So I'm already logged into internships.unr.edu. I already had my username, password, and I viewed step 1 already. So you're good to go. So you're on your home page within Sonia, essentially. You see a few more things that you didn't see on the welcome page, which is probably this resources that has access to this preceptor guide. But for the most part, everything looks the same as it did when you initially kind of went to internships.unr.edu and landed on that welcome page. A few things I want to point out is the tabs. So your menu tabs up here, and also you could see your name and your first and last name. So if that's not correct, you need to notify us pretty quickly so we can change that. Actually, and I'll also show you how you can change it. And you can indicate the language in which you prefer. It already defaults to United States and English. I also want to point out the settings cog. So you can click on the settings cog here, and you can also change your language. You can tick the enhanced accessibility box. You can upload your profile picture, and this is where you would change your password. Another place that you might change your personal profile details is right here on My Details. So clicking on that, you can see it's not very much information, and a lot of it's already auto-populated. So what's auto-populated into Sonia already for you is information that we already have on file, such as your direct phone number and your email address. So you can add other things if you really want to, or this is a great place to which you can change things. Maybe we got your email address wrong, or maybe your direct phone number is wrong. Maybe the front office phone number is in here instead, things like that. So that's basically it for building your own personal profile details. Let's go to building your agency or site details. So that's where I'm going to click on the site details tab. And you can see a lot of information here. There's actually a sub menu right here on the right hand side, and that's what we're going to go through today. So a few things I want to notate is you could see up here in the upper left hand corner it says site and subsite. So some sites might have divisions or programs in addition to kind of an umbrella organization, like many of our government associations or our hospitals, government associations I should say government sites, and also hospitals and things of that nature will probably have subsites. So technically Nevada Public Health Training Center is a subsite of the University of Nevada, Reno. So there's no subsite of Nevada Public Health Training Center. So that's why it's grayed out, because I can't really stratify further. Other things to kind of notate is you could see here there's a brief description of the Nevada Public Health Training Center. When you originally log into your site profile for Sonia, you probably are not seeing anything there. So I'll direct you to the introduction text, which is kind of the last option on this menu. And this is where you would upload any general details about your organization, a great place to put your mission statement and maybe a few sentences about what your organization does. All you have to do is press this button, add a new record. You could see there's a text box here, just like you would see anywhere else. And you can even change the colors, all of that stuff, or copy and paste and save it. And then that will be notated under here as a record. And other people in your agency will have access to viewing this. So you should know that. So if somebody comes in here and says, oh, this mission statement's old, we need to change that, they can, if they have permissions to do so, they might be able to either edit it or they might trash it all together and create a new one. And you will know who does what by looking at the date updated and also updated by. So you could see kind of what's going on in terms of the agency and who's making those changes. Let's go back to general details. A few more things I want to point out is this is where you would revise the name of your agency. So maybe it's not Nevada Public Health Training Center, it's actually just Public Health Training Center. I would just go in here and get rid of the Nevada and press save, and that would notify the field office of that change. And everything where students look for sites, it all changed there. If you had housing, you could tick this box, but most places that's not an issue. And then contact details. This is more high level details such as the front office phone number or the web address of the organization, or if you have an aggregate email, kind of general type of thing like help@unr.edu or something like that. That's where you would put that information. And the Nevada Public Health Training Center actually does. And then also this is where you would input the street address. Really cool feature of Sonia for students is that there's a Google Map feature, and so they can map where the agency is in relation to where they live or the university. Because some of our students, number one, are not from here, so they don't know where agencies are located. Number two, they might not have transportation, so they might prefer sites that are either around the university or on the university campus. Or three, if it's a site that's kind of far, like Carson City or Silver Springs or Elko or something like that, the student can see how far that particular site is from them, which is kind of cool. So address, super important. Let's move on to attributes. I really love attributes because this is a way a student can filter their site queries to a specific keyword. So for example, say your agency is all about substance use. If a student puts into the filter option in their Sonia page that they only want sites that deal with substance use, your agency will pop up in their queue. So it's really important that you put in these descriptors in addition to telling us what kind of students you would like to take from the university and the School of Community Health Sciences. So that's actually under area. So if you want to add to any of these categories, all you have to do is press this plus new area plus add new descriptor, add new focus, or add new region. So I'm going to click the add new area, and you can see a drop down menu appears. And you can see I actually only have 3 options. So you have CHS students in general. That means undergraduate and graduate students, or maybe you only want to take graduate students, or you only want to take on undergraduate students. So you can specify that here, and that helps the field office as well in terms of putting your agency into certain placement groups. And when I say placement groups, I mean class and semester. So like the Master of Public Health cohort for summer type of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and press this check mark to say yes, undergraduate. And actually, we do all of them. So I'm just going to put all of them here. And then you can see that's telling the field office that we take all students. And then descriptor and focus. So what's the difference between those two? Descriptor might be just a general description. This will actually pop up when the student's looking for sites. And then the focus is more for students that are looking by a filter keyword. So you probably want to add a lot of descriptors that might describe what your agency does, like the Nevada Public Health Training Center. We chose education and rural public health and underserved and professional development and workforce development. And then our focus is public health and health education, which is just a little bit more broad. The focus is, it's nice to be a little bit more broad because you probably do want to end up in a student's query. And then region, you know, this list is not perfect. As a matter of fact, I'm going to clean this up a little bit more to include all of our counties here in Nevada and all of the states. But there are some options here. Typically, most of our students are in Clark or Washoe or Carson City. So you can say here that, our area is in Clark County. So our Washoe County students aren't looking at your site if they can't go down to Vegas to complete their internship. And then you can also use a little trash can and get rid of all of these. If there's something that is not in this list that you feel should be in these lists, email me. Like I said before, we're definitely in the development stage of making this the most efficient tool for everybody involved. All right, notes. So this is for internal notes between you and everybody in your agency that takes on students. I will tell you the field office can see these notes, but we don't know really if you're writing these notes unless I actively go look for them, which I'm not going to do. The students do not see these notes, however. So it really is just a tool for your internal agency. So an example of a good note would be, say you're the volunteer coordinator and you're going to conduct interviews July 1st through July 5th. Well, I can put that in as a note. Just click the add new note and save. And then it will say right here, going to conduct interviews with students July 1st through July 5th. And so everybody in your agency is aware that that's when the interviews are going to happen. Or maybe somebody's like, hey, we have to do our interviews before this date. You could put that information in there. Or somebody's going on vacation and Sarah Smith's going to oversee my undergraduate student. Things like that. So this is for internal use. Documents and links. I want to make the caveat that you do not want to put your website here because the website is already under general details. So if you put it here, you're basically going to have it twice on your profile page. This is a great place to put additional resources for students to look at that's associated with your agency. So for example, maybe you're with Immunize Nevada or the state immunization program, and you want students to research CDC and best practices when it comes to immunizations. You could put the CDC link under links, and that will all be available for students to view, which is really great. And then any maybe additional documents, maybe you want to put your strategic plan here, or maybe you want to put an evaluation document or your community health improvement plan or something like that. You could put that under documents. I put the Nevada Public Health Center brochure, but just keep in mind this is all information that's accessible and viewable by students. Associated users, this is one of the best parts of developing your site, I feel. And that's basically you will be able to see everybody that takes on students in your agency. So if you're a huge agency like, say, Renown, we have so many students that are at Renown, and a lot of those preceptors don't know each other. And then like human resources, they have certain things that they have to do to ensure that students are safe and paperwork they have to sign and all of that. Well, now that HR person can go in here under associated users and see all of the various preceptors that are associated with this site, which is amazing. And you can set permissions for certain associated users. So there's only 3 people within the Nevada Public Health Training Center, small but mighty team. But I am the primary contact for this agency when it comes to internships, and I'm also the student contact when it comes to internships. So you can see the little roles and permissions legend right here that tells you what each of these acronyms mean. If, for example, your student comes to you and says, hey, I submitted timesheets, can you please approve them? And for some reason you're having a hard time approving timesheets, it might be because you don't have that particular permission, and you can go under here in associated users and see, oh, I don't have that permission. So I'm going to go to this person up here that seems to have all the permissions and see if they can give me permissions, or I'm going to email Mel and say, hey, can I get permissions to approve time cards? And we could do that very easily. And then you can also add new users. And this is where you would establish. So you might have one person in your agency that does this, or you might have a few people in your agency that does this, or you might do it yourself, but you can put in your information here and you can assign which roles and permissions that they have, and you can include any comments. And then appointments. Lastly, I just want to give you a short description of what this is. This is so you can manage your interviews, which we're going to talk about in a later tutorial. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but once you establish an advertisement and you start arranging interviews with students through Sonia, this is where you will manage those interviews. So that's basically creating your personal profile and creating your site profile in a nutshell. We have completed steps 2 and 3. If you need more information, feel free to use your site user guide as a reference, and you could go to steps 2 and steps 3 only, or you can always contact me for technical assistance at melanieF@unr.edu.